Introduction: the hidden game everyone is playing. You're being manipulated right now and you don't even know it. This isn't paranoia or conspiracy thinking. This is reality. Someone, somewhere, is actively trying to influence your behavior, your emotions, your spending, and your decisions. The scary part isn't that manipulation exists. The scary part is that most people never develop the awareness to recognize it, let alone the strength to resist it. Manipulation isn't always obvious. It's not always someone shouting or threatening. The most effective manipulation is subtle. It's the friend who constantly criticizes you to keep you dependent on their validation. It's the marketing that makes you feel inadequate so you buy the solution. It's the social pressure that makes you say yes to things you don't want. It's the system designed to keep you distracted so you never question what's actually happening. The difference between people who get controlled and people who control their own destiny is simple: awareness and strength. People who cannot be manipulated have one thing in common: they understand how the game works, and they've decided they're not playing it anymore. This isn't about becoming cold, distrusting everyone, or cutting yourself off from relationships. It's about becoming so clear on who you are, what you believe, and what you're willing to accept that nobody can successfully push you off your path. It's about developing the kind of internal strength that makes you immune to external pressure. The person who cannot be manipulated is the person who is truly free. They make their own decisions. They stand by their values. They don't crumble under pressure. And most importantly, they sleep well at night because they're living authentically, not performing for anyone else. If you want to understand exactly how manipulation works and learn the precise strategies that make you immune to it forever, subscribe to this channel right now. This is the most important knowledge you can acquire. Understanding manipulation will protect you in every area of your life: relationships, work, finances, and personal development. These 4 sections contain the framework that separates people who get controlled from people who control their own lives. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. This is your journey to becoming impossible to manipulate. Let's begin. Section 1: The Psychology of Manipulation. How your brain becomes a weapon against you. Your brain is brilliant. It's also incredibly vulnerable. And that vulnerability is exactly what manipulators exploit. Here's the truth: you have 3 separate brains operating simultaneously. The reptilian brain is your most primitive brain. It runs on pure survival instinct: fear, fight, flight, reproduction. When someone triggers fear, this brain takes over and your rational thinking completely disappears. Manipulators know this. They use fear-based language, fear-based marketing, fear-based relationships to hijack your brain and bypass your logic entirely. The limbic brain is where emotions live. This is where you process feelings, memories, and social connections. Manipulators are neuroscience experts without even realizing it. They know exactly which emotional buttons to push. They know that if they can make you feel a certain way, they can make you do things your rational self would never agree to. Shame, guilt, fear, obligation, these emotional triggers are their weapons. The prefrontal cortex is your rational brain. This is the part that makes deliberate decisions, plans for the future, and evaluates consequences. This is the part that would say no if given time to think. But manipulators don't want you to have time to think. They create urgency. They create emotional intensity. They create conditions that keep your rational brain completely offline. Here's how the manipulation mechanism works. A threat or emotional stimulus hits you. Your limbic system hijacks your prefrontal cortex. Your rational thinking goes dark. Without logical thinking, you follow the emotional impulse. The manipulator wins. You lose. This is why urgency is one of the most powerful manipulation tactics. When something feels urgent, your reptilian and limbic brains take over. Your prefrontal cortex can't get a word in. You act emotionally instead of logically. By the time you calm down and think clearly, you've already made the decision. This is also why taking time before making decisions is absolutely crucial. When you delay your response, you allow your prefrontal cortex to come back online. You allow rational thinking to take over. You allow your values and logic to guide your decision instead of your emotions. The key insight here is this: your emotions are not your enemy. They're information. They're trying to tell you something. But they're not instructions. Just because you feel fear doesn't mean you should run. Just because you feel guilt doesn't mean you're actually guilty. Just because you feel urgency doesn't mean the situation is actually urgent. The person who cannot be manipulated understands these brain patterns and builds systems to protect their rational thinking. They delay decisions. They create space between stimulus and response. They recognize when someone is trying to trigger their emotions. Most importantly, they understand that awareness is the first line of defense. When you understand how your brain works, you become harder to manipulate because you can recognize when someone is trying to hijack your system. You can notice when someone is using fear. You can observe when someone is creating artificial urgency. You can pause and engage your rational brain instead of being controlled by your emotions. If you want to understand the neuroscience behind why you've been manipulated before and how to stop it from happening ever again, subscribe to this channel. This knowledge changes everything. You'll start seeing manipulation attempts everywhere. You'll recognize the patterns. You'll know exactly what's happening in your brain when someone tries to push your emotional buttons. Subscribe, and start taking control of your own mind. Section 2, The Master Manipulator's Playbook, 9 Tactics that Control Millions. There are people who've dedicated their entire lives to studying how to manipulate others. They've refined their craft to an art form. They know exactly which buttons to push. They've designed systems that make manipulation seem inevitable. If you want to become impossible to manipulate, you need to understand their exact playbook. Tactic 1: Scarcity and Urgency. This offer is only available today. Limited spots remaining. Act now or miss out forever. The manipulator creates artificial scarcity to make you feel threatened. Your brain is hardwired to respond to scarcity as danger. When something seems limited, your fear of missing out overrides your logic. You panic buy. You panic commit. You panic decide. The antidote: if something is genuinely valuable, it will still be valuable tomorrow. Real opportunities don't evaporate in 24 hours. Tactic 2: Social proof. Everyone is doing this. Everyone agrees with this. This is what successful people believe. Humans are herd animals. We look to others to determine what's normal and acceptable. Manipulators create the illusion of consensus. They show you that everyone is buying, everyone is believing, everyone is doing. And suddenly you feel like you're the weird one if you don't participate. The antidote: make decisions based on your values, not on what others are doing. Tactic 3: False authority. Experts say. The research shows. I'm a certified. The manipulator positions themselves as an authority figure. Your brain is conditioned from childhood to trust authority. Teachers, doctors, parents, authorities have been right before. So you trust them. The manipulator exploits this by wearing the costume of authority. The antidote: question everything, even from supposed experts. Ask for evidence. Ask why they're telling you this. Ask what they benefit from if you believe them. Tactic 4: Liking and Similarity. We're so similar. I understand you. I'm just like you. When someone makes you feel understood and similar to them, you lower your defenses. You become more likely to believe them and agree with them. The manipulator positions themselves as your friend, your equal, someone who gets you. The antidote: recognize when someone is mirroring you. Just because you have things in common doesn't mean they have your best interests at heart. Tactic 5: Reciprocity. I did this for you. After everything I've done, you owe me. When someone does something for you, you feel obligated to repay the favor. Manipulators use this constantly. They do a small favor expecting a large one in return. They create a sense of debt. The antidote: accept favors graciously, but understand that favors don't create obligations. You can be grateful without owing anyone your behavior. Tactic 6: Commitment and Consistency. You said you believed this. You've always been the type. Humans want to be consistent with our stated beliefs and past behavior. Manipulators get you to make small commitments, then build on them. Once you've said yes to something small, you're psychologically more likely to say yes to something bigger. The antidote: be willing to change your mind. Be willing to say you were wrong. Consistency is only valuable when your position is right. Tactic 7: Emotional manipulation. Think of the children. This person suffered so much. Imagine how they felt. Emotional appeals completely bypass logic. They make you care about the emotional narrative more than facts. The manipulator tugs at your heartstrings. Suddenly you're not thinking anymore, you're just feeling. The antidote: separate emotion from decision making. Feel the emotion, but make decisions based on facts. Tactic 8: Isolation. Don't listen to them. You can only trust me. Everyone else will judge you. The manipulator isolates you from other perspectives. They become your only source of truth. They cut you off from reality checks and alternative viewpoints. The antidote: maintain diverse relationships. Talk to people with different perspectives. Never let one person be your only source of truth. Tactic 9: The knowledge gap. If you only knew what I know. There's information you don't have. The manipulator creates mystery and exclusivity. They make you feel like you're missing crucial information. This creates curiosity and the desire to believe them. The antidote: be skeptical of anyone claiming to have secret information. Real knowledge is usually available if you actually look for it. When you understand these 9 tactics, you start seeing them everywhere. In advertising. In relationships. In your workplace. In politics. Once you see them, you become immune to them because you know exactly what's happening. The manipulator's power comes from secrecy. They work best when you don't understand their tactics. But once you understand how the game is played, their power evaporates. You see through the illusion. You recognize the tactics. You make different decisions. Transformation Challenge. Week 1: Awareness and Understanding. Days 1 to 3. Watch Section 1, Psychology of Manipulation, and identify how your brain has been hijacked before. Days 4 to 5. Watch Section 2, Master Manipulator's Playbook, and recognize which tactics have worked on you. Days 6 to 7. Identify one relationship where you feel manipulated. Observe their specific tactics without reacting yet. Week 2, Recognition and Protection. Days 8 to 10. Watch Section 3, Toxic Relationships, and identify which emotional manipulation patterns you've experienced. Days 11 to 12. List 3 pieces of information you're currently oversharing with untrustworthy people. Days 13 to 14. Stop sharing those 3 pieces of information. Notice how this changes the dynamic. Week 3. Building your foundation. Days 15 to 17. Watch Section 4, Unshakable Self, and complete the Values Clarity exercise. Days 18 to 19. Practice saying no to 3 small requests without explanation. Days 20 to 21. Set one clear boundary with someone in your life. Defend it calmly but firmly. Week 4. Integration and Power. Days 22 to 24. Have one difficult conversation where you stand firm on your position. Days 25 to 26. Walk away from one situation that doesn't serve you. Days 27 to 28. Write down your top 10 core values and how they guide your decisions. Days 29 to 30. Journal about how you're different. Notice your increased confidence and clarity. Daily practices throughout the 30 days. Spend 10 minutes recognizing manipulation tactics in media, conversations, and relationships. Practice saying no to at least one small thing daily. Notice when you feel pressure and pause before responding. Journal about patterns you're noticing in how people interact with you. Subscriber success stories, real people, real transformations. Marcus, freedom from control. I'd been with my girlfriend for 7 years. She controlled everything: who I saw, what I did, where I went. I didn't even realize it was manipulation until I watched Section 3. The patterns described were literally my relationship. I watched these sections, understood what was happening, and had the courage to leave. Yes, it was terrifying. Yes, I questioned myself. But it was also the most liberating decision of my life. Now I'm with someone who loves me without controlling me. I can't believe I tolerated that for so long. Jennifer, professional power. My boss was a master manipulator. She'd praise me when she needed something, then criticize me relentlessly. I was constantly trying to prove my worth. After understanding Section 2, I realized she was using commitment and consistency tactics. Once I understood her game, I stopped playing it. I set boundaries, stopped seeking her approval, and became impossible to manipulate. Within 3 months, she transferred to a different department because she realized she couldn't control me anymore. David, breaking family cycles. I came from a family of emotional manipulators. My parents used guilt, shame, and judgment to control me. Section 3 showed me exactly how that worked. I realized I'd been repeating these patterns in my own relationships. After implementing Section 4, I got clear on my values, started saying no without guilt, and became closer to my family because the relationship was healthier. Not everyone talks to me anymore, but the people who do respect me. Sarah, the friendship that changed everything. I had a best friend of 15 years. When I started setting boundaries and saying no, she became hostile. Suddenly I was selfish, abandoning her, thinking I'm better than her. Section 3 helped me recognize this was emotional manipulation. She was using guilt and isolation to control me. Yes, losing that friendship hurt. But these sections gave me permission to walk away. I'm so much happier without the constant emotional drain. James, business protection. I'm in sales. I encounter manipulation daily. Section 2 taught me the exact tactics people use. Now I see them coming from a mile away. I use the decision-making framework. I consult with trusted people. I listen to my intuition. I've saved myself hundreds of thousands of dollars by not getting manipulated into bad decisions. These 4 sections are worth more than any MBA. FAQ. Your questions about becoming impossible to manipulate. Question: is becoming impossible to manipulate the same as being paranoid? A. No. Paranoia is assuming the worst of everyone. Being manipulation-proof is being discerning. You trust people who earn trust. You verify before believing. You maintain healthy skepticism without assuming malice. It's the difference between a lock on your door and never leaving your house. Question: how do I know if I'm being manipulated right now? A. Watch for these signs. You feel guilty for having normal boundaries. You're constantly trying to prove your worth to someone. You feel confused about your own reality. You've been isolated from support systems. You feel obligated to do things you don't want to do. You feel pressure to decide quickly. You're doubting your own perception of events. If you notice several of these, you're likely being manipulated. Question: what if the manipulator is my parent? A. You can't control whether you see them, but you can control how much you engage. Keep visits brief. Minimize personal sharing. Don't engage in arguments. Set clear boundaries. You can have a relationship with someone while maintaining distance and protection. Your responsibility is to protect yourself, not to fix them. Question: can someone who manipulates change? A. Some can. But it requires them to recognize their behavior is wrong, understand how it affects others, develop empathy, and fundamentally alter their thinking patterns. Most manipulators never do this work because they don't see anything wrong with manipulation. Be skeptical of promises to change. Watch for consistent behavior change over time. Question: what if I've been manipulated for years? Can I recover? A. Yes. Recognizing manipulation is itself a victory. You now see clearly. Allow yourself to feel the emotions that come with that realization. Then use what you've learned to ensure it doesn't happen again. The past is gone, but the lessons are invaluable. Many people rebuild their lives stronger than before. Question: how do I handle manipulation at work where I can't just quit? A. You can set boundaries. You can say no to projects beyond your scope. You can keep your personal life private. You can document manipulative behavior. You can escalate to HR. You can start looking for another job. You're never trapped. There are always choices, even if the choices feel limited. Question: is having boundaries the same as being cold? A. No. Boundaries are about protecting yourself while remaining kind and professional. Being cold is about punishing someone or creating distance as retaliation. You can maintain boundaries while being warm. I appreciate your input, and I've made my decision, is a kind boundary. Ignoring someone and refusing to speak to them is being cold. Question: what if I disagree with someone about my boundaries? A. Their disagreement doesn't matter. Boundaries are about what you will and won't accept, not about what others think you should accept. You don't need their permission. You don't need their agreement. You just implement the boundary. If they can't respect your boundaries, they don't belong in your life. Question: how do I teach children to be manipulation-proof? A. Model it yourself. Let them see you say no. Let them see you maintain boundaries. Let them see you walk away from unhealthy situations. Teach them their core values and help them make decisions aligned with those values. Allow them to experience consequences so they learn cause and effect. Most importantly, never manipulate them yourself. The roadmap: what's coming next on this channel? This is just the foundation. Here are the deep dives we're building. Month 2, Advanced Sections. The Neuroscience of Breaking Free: How to Rewire Your Brain After Years of Manipulation. Romantic manipulation: red flags to spot before you get attached. Financial manipulation: protecting your money from exploiters. Media manipulation: why the news makes you think certain ways. Corporate manipulation: how employers control employees. Month 3, Real-World Applications. Setting Unshakable Boundaries: Step-by-step system for any situation. Detecting gaslighting: the insidious manipulation you might not see. Recovery and healing: moving forward after discovering you've been manipulated. Workplace survival: thriving in toxic work environments. Building healthy relationships: what they actually look like. Month 4, Community Focus. Subscriber questions: your specific manipulation challenges answered. Breaking Free Stories: real people who escaped manipulation. Family Dynamics: navigating manipulative family members. Dating and Relationships: creating healthy partnerships. Advanced Reading Skills: becoming a human lie detector. Your questions, your challenges, and your growth guide where this channel goes. The more engaged you are, the more specific these sections become. The truth about real power. Here's what most people don't understand: the most powerful people aren't the loudest. They're not the most aggressive. They're not the ones who manipulate the most effectively. The most powerful people are the ones who cannot be moved. They have clarity. They have values. They have standards. And they're willing to walk away from anything that violates those standards. That unwillingness to compromise is what makes them powerful. Everyone else is negotiating, compromising, trying to please everyone. But the truly powerful person is just being themselves and accepting whoever wants to be part of that. Manipulation is fundamentally about control. The manipulator wants to control your behavior, your thinking, your emotions. They want power over you. But what they don't understand is that power is a negotiation. They only have power if you accept it. The moment you decide your integrity matters more than their